Lesson 11-6, Write Proportions. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to write proportions as well as use proportions to solve problems. Make sure you have a pencil and paper ready so you can take notes and follow along with me. One way to look at proportions is by using miles per gallon that cars get. So we can write a proportion based on how many gallons of gas it would take for a car to go a certain amount of miles. So in this question we have, if Megan's car averages 30 miles per gallon, how many gallons would Megan use on a 3,600 mile trip? In order to solve for the unknown number of gallons, we're going to use T for that. So now we need to write and solve this proportion. When you're writing a proportion, you need to be sure that the two equivalent ratios compare similar things. So we know we have 30 miles. I'm just going to abbreviate it for, there we go, 30 miles to 1 gallon is equal to, we have 3,600 miles over T gallons. We don't know how many gallons that's going to take. So now we're going to just use the cross products rule to solve the proportion. So we'll rewrite it without the labels. So we have 30 over 1 equals 3,600 over T. So now we're going to cross multiply. So we're going to go this way, and then we're going to multiply this way. So we have 30 times T equals 1 times 3,600. So now remember, we need to get that T by itself. So we're going to divide each side by 30. And that crosses out. We're left with the T. Divide this 3,600, by 30. And we get 120. So in order for Megan to go on a 3,600 mile trip, she would need 120 gallons. So if a car were to go 37 miles per 1 gallon of gas, how far or how many gallons would they need if they went 185 miles? So again, we're going to set up that cross ratio. So I'm going to be multiplying these two by these two. So when I set that up, it'll look like this. I have 37 times m is equal to 185 times 1. So then if I go 37m, that's equal to 185. Now I need to get the m by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by 37, and I cross that out, so m is left by itself. Divide this by 37, and when I divide 185 divided by 37, I get 5 times. So they would need 5 gallons in order to go 185 miles. So another way to use proportions is figuring out cost per individual items or for groups of items. So if we have 3 apples for 75 cents, how many apples can be bought for $4.25? So we would need to set up our proportion, which would say, I know I have 3 apples cost 75 cents. And if I put that, actually I'm going to write it with a dollar sign, so that way it's equal, it's got the same symbols as my other one will. So I'll do it like this, so there we go. And that's equal to how many apples, and I can use a variable for that. I'm going to use X for $4.25. So now I just need to set that up and multiply it. So it will be 3 times 425, and that equals $12.75 is equal to 75 cents times x. Now I need to get the x by itself, so I will divide both sides by 75 cents. That gets rid of it on this side, and then divide it by 75 cents. And that leaves me with 17. So it would be 17 apples would cost $4.25. I want you to try this one. 12 calculators equals $60. So how much will 4 calculators cost? Go ahead and write that proportion and solve it, and then come back and check it against my answer. Okay, so I'm going to write that proportion as 12 calculators cost $60. So how many would 4 calculators cost? I'm going to use a C for calculators. So then I do my cross multiplying, and I have 12 times C equals 4 times 60. And then that would be 12C equals 240. Divide both sides by 12. And my C is left here, so C equals $20. I hope you were able to get $20 also. So go ahead and work out problems 1 through 7, and then come back and we'll finish up the video. You can also use proportions for distance, speed, time. So the speed or rate, which is r, is the ratio of distance, d, to time. So let me show you. That looks like this. That would be rate equals distance over time. So we're given the question, Voyager 1 travels through space at about 38,600 miles per hour. At that rate, how far would Voyager 1 travel in a half hour? So we would set up that proportion and write 38,600 miles. Then that goes for every 1 hour. That's our time. So we have our distance on top, our time on the bottom, equals, I'm going to put a D for miles, and then in a half hour, so I'm going to put 0.5 hours because that's a half hour. So then we cross multiply, and we have 38,600 times 0.5 equals 1 times D. So then when we simplify that down, this side would equal 19,300 equals 1 times D equals D. And there we go. It would be 19,300 miles. So in the problem, how far will a motorboat travel in 5 hours if it travels 35 miles in 1 hour? I want you to try to figure that out, remembering that your ratio will be rate equals distance over time. So try to solve that, and then pause the video and then come back and check against my answer. So we would set that up like 35 over 1 equals, we don't know the distance, over 5. So we cross multiply, and we would have 1 times D, which would equal D, equals 35 times 5, which equals 175. So D equals 175 miles. Right, go ahead and rewatch any part of the video that you need to before heading off to do today's assignment.